The worst house guest ever. Who have you been desperate to get rid of? Let me start by saying this all happened a couple of years ago, but it still bugs me when I think about it. My name's Emily, and I run a small horse setup on our family property in the countryside. The woman in question is Margaret. She's about 65, and I knew her from the old yard where I used to board my horses. When I moved out, I took 2 elderly horses with me, a pair of 27-year-olds named Rusty and Bella, because they needed a quiet retirement spot away from the chaos. Margaret messaged me saying she wanted to come visit and check on how they were settling in, which seemed nice enough at the time. She showed up one afternoon in her beat-up old sedan, and right off the bat, she announced she had this awful cold, sniffling and coughing like she was auditioning for a flu commercial. Before anyone could back away, she went around hugging and kissing all of us. Me, my dad, my partner Alex, and even my mom, who was just popping in from the kitchen. Then, without missing a beat, she asked my dad to go out and check her tire pressures because they felt a bit off. Next, she handed Alex her sat NAV and said it wasn't working right. Could he fix it quick? And to me, she requested a decaffeinated coffee, black, no sugar, like I was her personal barista. We hadn't even invited her to stay overnight, but she just assumed. We had my mom's homemade dinner that night. She's a fantastic cook, trained in cordon bleu stuff, and Margaret wolfed down a huge portion without a word of thanks. Then she yawned dramatically and said she was exhausted from the drive, asking to be shown her room. We didn't have a guest room ready, so she ended up in my mom's bedroom, which meant mom had to crash on the sofa downstairs. It was awkward, but we didn't want to make a scene. Before bed, we explained we don't do big breakfast around here. Just help yourself to toast, butter, marmalade, whatever's in the fridge. She nodded like she got it. The next morning, I was up at dawn mucking out the stables, as usual. We planned a day trip to Conwy in North Wales because Margaret had mentioned wanting to see the castle there. It's this massive medieval fortress, one of the biggest in the country. But instead of coming out to help, or even just chatting while I worked, she woke my mom up early, demanding toast and coffee. Then she added on grapes, orange juice, and bacon and eggs, like it was a hotel buffet. Mom obliged, grumbling under her breath, while Margaret sat in the hall with her handbag clutched on her lap, waiting for me to finish so we could leave. She also complained loudly about not sleeping well because the bed was lumpy and room too drafty. Mom knew all about it since our house is old, built in 1545 with creaky floorboards, and she'd heard every step Margaret took pacing around upstairs. I'd warned her multiple times that the drive to Conwy was a solid 3 hours each way, but she moaned about it the entire trip. The traffic, the roads, how her back hurt from sitting. When we finally got there and parked near the castle, she completely missed the huge structure right in front of us. Instead, she pointed at one of the old town walls and said, "Is that it? I'm so disappointed. I was expecting something much bigger." We all just stared at her, trying not to laugh or snap. Lunch was another ordeal. She spent over 2 hours nursing a single bowl of soup at a local cafe, talking nonstop and loudly about how men are such strange creatures, and listing all her ex-husband's faults. Every guy in the place was shooting us dirty looks, like we were part of some anti-men club. After that, we visited this preserved Tudor townhouse nearby, full of historical artifacts. Margaret sniffed and declared it wasn't as nice as ours back home, and of course, it's much younger. Our house is from the 1500s, sure, but comparing it like that was just embarrassing, especially with other tourists around giving us side eye. On the way back, she got this idea about her walls. She suggested we scrape off some of the plaster on one of the original interior walls to expose the wattle and daub underneath, then cover it with glass so people could see it for themselves. She even reached out and started picking at it with her nails like she was going to demo it right there in the car. I had to tell her firmly to stop. Honestly, who cares about showing off ancient wall guts? It's our home, not a museum. The real low point was the horse stuff. I have 5 horses.